Oh god, I'm so dumb that I can't even think of this fucking true.
Oh yeah, role playing. That's fun.
Yeah, I bet you get that a lot, right?
Kill it!
We're all being pegged at home.
If you're dumb enough to believe it, you'll go for anything.
What do you mean?
All right, I'm Chris Hackett. I'm joined here with
Tim McMahon.
And we have a special guest. Say your name.
Andrew Kepple.
And also, we are specially, for the first time, not joined by Dusty. But I did, because Dusty is not going to be here, kind of like the movie Weird Science, I put a bunch of porn magazines and chemistry textbooks into a computer, and I got a virtual Dusty for us.
Yeah, I saw him do this too. It's amazing.
And I'm Dusty McCord, your ship captain.
See, there he is.
Yeah. Let's play that. Dusty, who did you say you were again?
And I'm Dusty McCord, your ship captain.
Thanks, Dusty. It's really nice of you to be here.
I just wish there was math involved.
That's great, Dusty. Thank you.
Yeah, we can get some math involved later, Dusty. Don't worry about it. Which I just want to say, so you were sick. Tip, you were sick yesterday.
Yeah.
Dusty is sick today. I tried to call Shannon for the second recording.
God, I'm so embarrassed now.
Yeah, you should be embarrassed, Dusty. I tried to call Shannon for the second recording, and she's sick.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, why am I not invited to the orgies?
You're probably going to be sick since you're over here with me, and I was just sick.
Yeah.
Also, Chris decided to show up like an hour early for the podcast recording today because the last time he showed up 10 minutes early, I was naked and about to take a shower. I think he was hoping there was going to be something inside of me when he showed up today.
Inside of you?
Yeah. You're like, well, if he's naked 10 minutes before, he's probably going to be doing something even worse an hour ahead.
Man, I got to show up 2 hours early next week. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an animator, so I'm already qualified for anything that's nerdy. And I've been doing a lot of strange flash animations since about the early 2000s, or mid-2000s when I first met Tip online. And now I work for a studio in Auckland, New Zealand.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw the animation that you made of Tip.
The Tip Attribute?
Yeah, the Tip Attribute.
Oh, yeah.
that was fun. It took me back to, what was that, like 2001?
2007, I think.
2007?
That was not 2007. That was it? No, because
I think it was early.
Whenever
early
Newgrounds was popular.
I think it was like 2004.
Yeah.
I know that like every girlfriend I've ever had, I've shown that to, and it's convinced them that people think I'm cool.
Is that true?
Wow, I should do more dating videos for people then.
Yeah. So Kepple and I have actually kind of known each other nearly 20 years, going back originally to the forums for 3D Realms.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were both Duke Nukem people. He actually made a kind of a popular Duke Nukem and other Apogee games series, right? What was it, Strife?
Yeah, there was a webcomic called Strife that someone else was making using 3D models, and then I just came in with drawing them because I didn't have the patience to do 3D modeling, and did lots of cartoons about Commander Keen, Duke Nukem, all that kind of thing. Oh, yeah,
Commander Keen!
Yeah.
So I just noticed where every time we touch the table, it is picking up the sound.
That's just, extra audio goodness for everybody at home. They can imagine that I'm setting down this plastic glass of water.
What does Dusty think about this? Dusty, you're so silly. Yeah, so what was I gonna say?
You were before we were actually starting the podcast, you were asking Kepple about how he knew me. I guess we just talked about that.
Yeah, you met on the forums. I guess
this is an interesting thing that I don't normally get to ask somebody. What was your impression of me?
Considering there was a lot of what did we call it? Shithouse posting. You were sort of on the funnier side of that. Like a lot of people were just like ridiculously like surreal with that kind of thing. But that was my favorite part of the forums anyway. But yeah, I thought you were one of the more sensible ones that had a sense of humor that kind of matched with mine.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I knew of Kepple before I knew Kepple, just from seeing all of his animations and everything. Kepple, actually, you kind of were an inspiration to me as a teenager to start creating things because you had so impressively created so much shit all on your own.
Oh yeah! Wow, thanks.
Have you guys ever cybered?
No,
And not.
although we did work on a show project together that never fully got off the ground.
That's kind of like cybering.
It was called You've Got Grail.
Oh man, that sounds
Oh
great.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That was for that what was it, a TV station that sort of
Channel 101
would take. Yeah, that's the one.
I love Channel 101.
So the concept was basically, you remember at the end of the third Indiana Jones movie when they're looking at all the grails?
Yeah.
And the one guy is like, oh, here. And he picks up this gold cup and he's like, this is the King of Kings cup or whatever. And he drinks it and he turns super old.
Yeah.
So something I noticed when I was watching that scene is that when he turns super old, but before he turns to dust, he turns into Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So my concept was, what if he just stopped changing then and he was like, great Scots. And then we realized that the false grails didn't actually kill you. They just turned you into different celebrities. And so the concept of the show is that I stole all these grails and took them home. And then me and my friend were just fucking around with these grails that would turn you into different people.
You've got Grail.
Yeah. Kepple came up with that name because I couldn't come up with any names that he came up with that. And, I love it and I hate it.
Yeah, that was in Dusty's Project Sharkman when we were punching it up. One of the books that the character writes is called You Got Whale because it's such a bad title.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed now.
I wish you could hear this, Andrew.
Dusty just was saying how embarrassed he was.
Yeah, that's classic Dusty.
Yep.
So do we want to talk about
the best
Guardian
Scottish
of the Highlands?
animation ever made? Oh my God. Oh yeah. So I just want to point out, I have a notebook with at least 5 pages of notes because I had to write shit down. Things were moving so fast in this movie. I had no idea what the fuck was happening most of the time. And I wrote down, is this what Star Wars feels like?
Yeah. You mean the new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Probably.
Have you seen the new Star Wars, Andrew?
Yeah, I saw it just the other day.
Does this movie feel like that?
It kind of has a lot in common with it in the way it goes.
Similarly, nonstop propulsive.
Yeah. Just like constantly moving.
And you're
all sorts of
constantly asking
subplots.
yourself, like, what is the plot of this movie? Why is any of this happening?
I don't know. So let's just do what we really failed to do on the Flash Gordon episode. Let's get a little summary on what's happening. Can anybody summarize this movie?
Why don't you go ahead, Andrew? I think you got it.
Well, I can sum it up in 4 words.
Okay.
Jimmy Neutron with boobs.
I actually wrote down Jimmy Neutron too. I was trying to figure out what the animation looked like. And my first thing that I wrote down was that it looked like a commercial from the 90s for an art school that would say all real student art. And then halfway through the movie I realized, oh no, this is they're clearly ripping off Jimmy Neutron style hardcore.
But worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the animators have some sort of obsession with boob physics. So,
like super boob physics, and
the writer wrote in stuff about boobs too, so it wasn't just the animator's fault.
I recorded that line at the end.
Yeah.
Should
I play that line now?
It's kind of let's actually get a summary in real quick of what the plot is.
Okay.
So the plot, as far as I can remember, is that first off, I don't know who the main character is, because we switch perspectives a lot. I think it's Sean Connery, but it could be the goat, and it might be a beaver.
I'm going to say it's either Sir Billy or that stinky beaver.
Oh, I'm going to eat you, wee one. So it's this beaver is captured by the illegal animal deportation department, and a driver that's driving the truck with all the animals in the back bends over to pick up a candy bar, wrecks the truck, and the beaver falls into a ravine, Bessie, the beaver, where a rabbit adopts her. Flash forward several years later, they go to a sporting event where women are only allowed to play on Saturdays, and Bessie gets lost in the river with the male rabbit, and then we have Sean Connery, or Billy, and his goat. Oh, Billy Goat, I just got it. Oh, shit. Anyway, Billy and his goat are trying to rescue the beaver, and we have our villain who is the head of the illegal animal deportation department that I'm assuming was fired. We never really cover that, and he's like still stuck on wanting to get that beaver and get it out, so he might get a commendation from whatever department of government this is.
I gotta say that was actually really unclear throughout the movie. They kept switching back and forth between he was impersonating a police officer or he really was a police officer.
I don't think he ever was a police officer because I think he was part of animal control, and so he was supposed to be the opposite of Billy's characters because Billy was animal rescue.
Animals are people in this. And at the very beginning of the movie, I noted that he was in a police car that said Beaver Unit.
Yeah.
So I'm
guessing he probably lost his job for some reason and then just kept on pretending he was with the force.
Yeah, well, because he calls the other cop at
the very end when he has the scene where he basically admits to everything in front of the police, and then the police are like, "Well, now you're arrested." That cop said that he was arresting him for wanting to harm an animal taken from a private estate, which seemed too specific.
I wrote that down too.
And then also for impersonation. But then right after he says that, he says that he's a disgrace to the force. So what was he impersonating? Or are cop impersonators a disgrace to the force?
Oh yeah, because they're making like they're mocking the police by acting like police.
Yeah, and he also says to his partner in the beginning, he goes, "What? You should just take a desk job like me." And he's like, "No." The villain is like, "No, I want to get this beaver." Which is like, and that's one of the problems with the writing of this movie overall is I couldn't like that same thing. Was he a cop? Is he not a cop? Also, what fucking year is it? Because we start out with what I'm assuming is a flashback, but we don't have a flash forward. And then the entire town knows Bessie, but it's Bessie's first time ever at the races with the animals that raised her.
I have a bigger question, which is the cop is constantly talking about the smelly beavers. And is that supposed to be a dirty joke? Like right at the beginning, like he's like, spending my whole life just chasing the smelly beaver. And
I think is that a joke
for the parents?
I think it might be. After I'd finished watching the movie, I was like, I have to look up a summary of this. I have to look up a wiki or something to just confirm that what I saw was real. And they also mentioned that the smelly beaver joke kept recurring and wasn't funny.
Yeah.
100% not funny.
Oh, and so the movie starts with Sir Billy, Sean Connery, narrating, and he sounds like he's narrating from his deathbed.
It sure does.
Yep.
And then he says the most dramatic thing in the entire movie right at the beginning. He says like, even up here, the devil never sleeps. And sure enough, in their many costumes and disguises, they've arrived. And then it cuts to the police.
Well, are they police?
I don't know.
Did you catch the anti-immigrant sentiment in there too?
That was one thing that kept confusing me, is that whether or not he was really police and whether or not the beaver was an illegal immigrant or not really changed the meaning of the whole movie. And they kept making it very confusing to where I was like, is this about illegal immigration or not?
Yeah, well, he said, because Connery says at one point, how are they getting all these visas? And I was like, wait, this is a very MAGA message right now. Also,
Sean Connery, I think that he fucking hates cops in this movie. Because one of the recordings, I'm going to pull up one of my recordings here. Sorry, you won't be able to hear this, Kepple. But he just sees the cop. He hasn't had any interactions with the cop yet. And he just immediately goes after him. I'm going to play this recording. It's a little bit long. We might need to cut this down.
Hey, you over there. Yes, you. In the miserable outfit. What? Come here. I've heard about you, and I'd like a word with you.
Yeah, what do you want?
Now listen here. I find you odd, strange even, and my gut tells me that you are indeed up to no good. So I'll say this only once. Catterness is my town, actually a village.
I like that he specifies, well, actually it's a village.
Someone or anything in this village will have me to answer to. Do I make myself clear? I'm not finished yet. I suggest
God, it's such a long line.
Is not for the good of Catterness, that you leave right now, son.
He's telling the cop to get out of
Are you
town.
understanding me?
And then the best part is this very
Yes,
end.
run
Hold
away,
on.
son. A good move on your part. You coward. I wouldn't fancy my chances if I were you. 20 years ago. I would have just taken him out there and then.
Yeah, 20 years ago, he would have
yeah.
assaulted him.
No, he would have taken him out right then. 20 years ago, if he just saw a cop that he didn't like the look of, he would have murdered him.
Yeah. It was... That was the other thing that's strange about this movie is it is filled with references that kids will not get.
Well, and another thing about that scene that was interesting is that right after the cop goes away and Sean Connery just been acting tough, then he collapses against the side of the car, panting like he's going to die and have a heart attack.
But we see him skateboarding later in the movie.
Well, this happens over and over in the movie, is that randomly he'll suddenly get super out of breath from doing almost nothing and act like he's about to die. And I think that they were just using the recordings they had of Sean Connery. They're like, how do we animate around this?
One more line. Just give me a second. I can lay back down on my bed.
So as an expert animator, Andrew, what did you think of the animation in this movie?
Let's start with the textures.
The textures are surprisingly not good for the time, but overall, it looks like something that would come out of an animation school from the class that graduated. So it's not like it's really that phoned in, but it's nowhere near the quality it should be for an actual feature-length movie.
The thing that kept getting me was just I kept turning to my wife Amanda and being like, "Where's the light coming from? Where is the light coming from?" Like a lot of time, the textures are glowing downwards, or
you can see this kind of there's a white line around some characters as if there's light coming from behind them all the time.
There was one point where the duck was on the airplane, and I swear instead of doing actual lighting, they just did a drop shadow over the entire duck.
Yeah. But there was on the dam when they're trying to get the dam to shut down, and the guy's like, "I can't shut down the dam," and then he has his two henchmen, Pepperoni and Arm & Hammer.
Oh yeah, I wrote that down.
And they're both lit, and he's not lit, and they're all standing in the same place. It didn't make any sense. Like they're both front lit, and he's like supposed to be in their shadow, but there's no way they could have cast a shadow. That was nonstop through this whole movie.
I thought some of the actual animation, like the motion of the characters, some of that was done pretty well, although it seemed to be all over the place. Some scenes were really horribly animated and some were more competent.
Yeah, that was really quite inconsistent. How some of it was good and then others of it was just, it could have been early 90s experimental animation.
And that duck had like no facial expressions at all. They were like, the only thing that could move on it was the bill and its like point of its eyes.
Well, all the characters were horrifying looking that were animals. The rabbit mom had fake eyelashes, but the goat had no eyebrows, eyelashes, or lips.
Did you notice that the rabbit models and the beaver models were exactly the same? They just changed the tails and the ears.
I
thought that was going to come up. I thought that it was going to be like he was going to disguise himself as a rabbit or something at some point.
Oh, there were so many things I thought were going to come up.
But even the beaver texture on the tail was pretty much nothing. Like beavers have a certain texture on their tails, especially in cartoons. It gets exaggerated a lot, but this one was just like this slab of meat hanging out the back of it.
Well, that might have been on purpose because I felt like the beaver's tail was a metaphor for having a big dick. Like, because everyone kept talking about his big tail.
Yeah.
And like the rabbits kept being jealous of it.
Yeah.
And like after he raced, there was one rabbit who was like,
it's a she.
Was it
Bessie?
The one who decided to race after
the boy.
him?
No, that's the boy. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That boy was like, he could do a lot with that big old tail hanging behind him. He just kept talking. I was like wondering if that was part of the animals as minorities thing. Is that what it was supposed to be? Do the animals represent minorities in this?
I don't know.
If not intentionally, it could definitely be read that way because I picked up on that too.
But that means the beaver is both a dick joke and a vagina joke.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously.
Wow.
It's like
genius.
the Schrodinger's cat of dick jokes.
They really got their money's worth for that one.
I would talk real quick about breaking the fourth wall in the weirdest ways over and over again. Like the duck, whenever we see the duck, is talking at the camera.
The duck's basically a narrator, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. But then always looks away and sometimes is interacting with the characters. And then when we see the goat for the first time, the horrifying gimp goat that is like just that model itself was fucking terrifying. The fact that its tail stuck out of the back of its pants like an erect penis.
And that was Alan Cummings, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And he was wearing the Bruce Lee jumpsuit.
Yeah.
But I think there was a Kill Bill reference because of the time that this came out.
A character wearing a Kill Bill suit when their best friend is called Bill just seems a bit strange.
Yeah. Yeah, but then when we're first introduced to him, he's sleeping in a dog bed. He wakes up, licks the camera, and then the camera pulls back, and we never have this fourth wall break again with him.
Mm-hmm.
It was very strange when we decided. I mean, this feels like it was written by a child in a fever dream.
So I have a question. You remember there's multiple points where animals are like dead, and they're revived by an opaque Coke bottle?
I know what that is.
What is it?
I wrote it down because it is one line that is
He said that it'll numb the pain.
Very briefly, when it's the goat is dead, is like knocked out, and he's like, oh, if only I had Perry Falls water.
It must be some Scottish water brand that they're pushing.
I guess so. I was confused the entire time, and it's only mentioned once. Otherwise, he uses it, but he only mentions it once. Which that whole goat scene. So, like before the goat gets knocked out, he's being rescued from the water, and Connery keeps being like, "Oh, I really hope she knows which button to press." Q's been working on my boat. Another Bond reference that the kids are not going to get. Q's been working on my boat, and I don't know what it's going to do. And then she like reaches in and the net grabs him, and he's like, oh, I hope she like turns it up. And she pulls it up, she brings it over, and he's like, just press the lever down and you'll drop him down to the boat. And then she does it. And I was like, what was the point of any of that?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the Bond reference. Did you also catch the Hunt for Red October reference?
With the text?
Oh, yeah.
So what's interesting, though, is that people love to take movies and be like, oh, because of this character appearing in this movie or this show or whatever, like they're in the same universe. Well, this movie makes like every Sean Connery movie in the same universe. Like it turns out that James Bond and the Soviet captain of the submarine in Hunt for Red October are the same person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably the character from Highlander as well.
Yeah, because he's the Highland, the guardian of the Highlands.
Was there any direct Highlander references in this aside from the title?
No, I don't think so. I didn't catch any.
No, I'm not very familiar with it. Like it's been too long since I've seen it, but yeah, I don't think there was.
Yeah. So the other thing that really drove me crazy is how did the entire we bring the beaver into the sporting event where they say the weirdest misogynistic line.
It's ripe for harassment, right?
Yeah, exactly, Dusty. They bring in this weird misogynistic line where they say girls can only ride this on Saturdays.
Yeah, just get that right up in there.
and she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And they're like, no, do this incredibly dangerous and deadly race next to a cliff that's by a raging river. So she does it. We get lost. We come back to the town, and Billy is like, we need to get Bessie. Everybody, we need to get Bessie. And everybody starts crying because Bessie's gone. When did they meet Bessie? When did any of this happen?
Yeah, he just like rallies the town together. Everything shuts down. They try to shut down the dam. They get all their resources together to save this beaver that he just met.
Yeah.
Met a friend of.
Well, we don't even know if he met the beaver. He was told by the duck.
Mm-hmm.
No, he ran over a rabbit, I think, and then the rabbit told him.
I do like that the rich guy was immediately against the idea of saving them from being ground up.
Yeah.
He's like, some people are going to come by to look at my dam, and like if it's not on, it won't be as impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he did, and then he, that same time when he didn't want to do them, we were introduced to even more weird exposition, which is where I felt like the plot was constantly changing, where the goat in front of everybody says, we all know, or nobody knows except for me, that you have a lot of gambling debts and we wouldn't want to tell everybody. And the entire town is there listening. And he goes, oh, okay. And it just goes on. And like, what the fuck happened?
That's the joke. That's the hilarious joke they wrote.
It's not a joke.
What was a joke in this movie?
Oh, I wrote down this is Sean Connery's Sharkman.
We can't compare every movie that we reviewed to Sharkman.
So far we are. Oh yeah, I was watching this with subtitles on, and you know the girl that looks like the American lady with the black hair, with the American sister that comes and visits.
Oh yeah.
It says in subtitles Northeast American accent.
You know, you were lucky that you had subtitles, because I started watching the movie and I was like, I cannot understand what half of these characters are supposed to be saying. And so I tried to turn on the subtitles, but I was watching on Tubi TV and it said no subtitles available. I did write down something about that woman that you were just talking about, though. So like, okay, so the sexy woman that he's super into, who's from New York, is the worst voice actor ever. Yeah. It was clearly like it was just the only person they could find with a normal American accent to do. And then the woman who was with her, who was her sister, who was the short one with the black hair.
Yeah, is she a musician?
She sounded like George Costanza's mom.
Yeah, it was super weird.
So did you ever want me to play any of these clips you made me pull up?
Oh yeah. Can you play the? This was the part when this happened. It was when we're first introduced to the water, the healing water, and was just mortifying for a children's show. You play the paralyzation clip.
Could have broken her back.
Exactly that, son.
Back.
If she can move her toes ever so slightly,
She can move her
there might be a
toes
chance of
ever so
recovery.
slightly.
If not, there may be too much damage to the spinal cord.
damage.
Now listen to me and look at me with those big soulful eyes.
Oh, those big soulful eyes.
I want you to move your wee toes. Just an itsy bitsy wee tiny bit.
Is this enough?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
How many like paralyzed and almost dead animals do we have in this movie?
Well, that's what Connery says in the beginning when they come across the body. He's like, "Is she paralyzed?" And he says, "No. It could just be that she's a rabbit. And when rabbits are really scared, they become immobilized." And they're
easier to animate.
Yeah. And that scene is them trying to like figure out if this rabbit's paralyzed or immobilized, which I could just imagine being a kid watching this and being like, what? What are you being taught? Oh, that scene was rough. And then he pours the water in her mouth and she wakes up and she's fine.
That fucking water. Man, that's the same plot from The Water Boy with Adam Sandler. Do you remember that? He has the magical water vial around his neck that always stays cold and it revives anybody.
Maybe Adam Sandler was supposed to be Sean Connery's role. Yeah, it would have been funnier.
But that part with him and the goat are trying to revive the rabbit or trying to get it to wiggle its toes, like that whole bit, I was just wondering, is wiggling the toes going to save it, or is it already decided whether it's alive or not and they're just trying to determine whether they can do anything? Because they make it seem like they've actually got some agency here when I don't think they do.
Yeah, I think that asking someone to wiggle their toes is just a way to figure out whether they're paralyzed or not.
Yeah, but they make it seem like, oh, this is a great triumph. We're gonna heal this rabbit, but they're not. They're just there to
and
find out.
Also, let's not forget the villain in the very beginning of the movie says that he likes eating their paws and tails.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird.
So he eats ass.
Yeah, he's been chasing that stinky beaver, but all he can get is some ass.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. How long have we been recording at this point?
32 minutes, but it feels like an hour.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like going into the minutia on this movie is I don't know.
It's hard.
I feel like maybe I don't know. I think we need to hit our big points on this.
How about the part? Okay, here's a big point, which Amanda pointed out to me, is when the daughter at the very end is in the dance scene and Sean Connery leaves with the American sister, and then the daughter says something along the lines of she's kind of a flighty, but at least he likes somebody, and she's very well endowed, and then she looks at the camera and says,
"Do you want this audio clip?"
It's the audio clip's boring. I mean, you can try it. Let's try it.
Oh, I'm so glad he's found a wee bit of happiness now. It's been long overdue. Even if she is a brazen lassie with a funny accent and I dare say an enviable chest.
An enviable chest.
Here now, do they?
And they don't make it over here like they do, or don't make it here like they do there. And then Amanda turned to me and said, "Damn, she's got big tits. So excited for my dad to suck on them."
I did like that the love interest for Sean Connery appeared to be many years younger than his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that his daughter was into it, and that woman was into it. I put a clip of that woman being really into old man Sean Connery. Let me just play that back really quick.
I have a little surprise for you.
I have a little surprise for you.
Did you record this from your couch?
Over the Atlantic Ocean, from the most magnificent cliff in the Highlands.
Sounds like rape.
Such a man.
That part where she says, such a man. It sounds like a man recorded that. Like they didn't have the woman anymore, and they just had to have someone try to match her voice. It doesn't sound like the same voice.
No. And we're all certain Sean Connery is fucking that goat, right? Because it seemed like there was an implied relationship that they tried to walk back every once in a while. They're like, no, look, here's Sean with the woman.
I was more worried about his cow, who he seems to have in like a
bondage
torture. He seems to have in some sort of torture machine that takes it back and forth between a treadmill and
a jacuzzi.
Jacuzzi.
Yeah, it's supposed to be rehabilitation, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could be
seems
fucking
like
a
some
cow.
some kind of thing that Peter would be interested in. You know, new farming techniques where cows never get to go outside.
It seemed like like some kind of like he was making high end Kobe beef or something. I was expecting to see it later, like strung up, being fed beer, like hung from the ceiling.
Oh, Gordy, how do you do that without lips? It's amazing.
Wait, what did you say, Dusty, about the cow being hung from the ceiling?
Is that comfortable?
No, probably not.
Yeah, but no, I thought Sean Connery is fucking the goat. Because the goat even says to him, he's like, you don't have to tell me about how amazing you are. We all know about that in the car. Right before he presses a button on the dashboard that opens up a microphone that he talks into, it communicates with a duck up top. This movie was weird.
Oh, I'd like to point out, the musical scene at the end.
Yeah.
Did you notice that was clearly a credit scene?
Yeah.
That they didn't put credits over, and they moved into the movie to bulk out the length of it?
Yep.
And then, did you notice what music they played for the credits?
No.
Oh, Auld Lang Syne.
Auld Lang
Scotland's
Syne.
greatest contribution to music.
Yeah, because they played it because this movie is just all about Scotland and trying to push everything Scottish. And it was written by Scots language poet Robert Burns in 1788.
But it was being sung by the American woman.
So? I don't think it actually was being sung by a woman. It was like a weird version that I don't think had to do anything with any of the characters.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like a modern version to be like, it's Scotland, but now we're hip for the kids.
But it was appropriate
as the kids
because
get Sean
this
Connery
is kind of our
references.
New Year's Dumb Geeks.
Yeah. What is it? Is that a New Year's song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't.
What did you think? How are you familiar with Auld Lang Syne?
I'm not at all. At first I was like, are they singing Old Acquaintance? Old Acquaintance.
Yeah, that's
is that it?
Uh-huh.
It was that
That's the
song.
one.
Yeah, but they did like a really weird version of it that didn't even seem to be to the tune of the normal thing.
Like the first three notes seemed like they were part of it, and then I was totally confused.
Well, it's kind of like when people sing the national anthem at a sports event and they just kind of go all over the place and have fun with the melody. I think it was that kind of interpretation.
Mm. Well, I think we should bring this podcast back to our Cum Geeks root. Andrew, which animal would you fuck?
From the show or just in general?
Yeah, from the show. Not in general. I mean, we can go to in general.
Each.
Well, we know you're in New Zealand, so it's sheep. But let's for the show. By the way, do New Zealanders have jokes about animals that Americans fuck?
I think it's just everyone all over the world has jokes about everyone else fucking sheep because.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I do know one Scottish joke.
Say it.
Let's see. Oh, actually, I know two. Okay, one is oh fuck. Oh,
this is a good joke. Tell it again.
Oh, wait. Okay, you know what the Rolling Stones song "Hey You, Get Off of My Cloud"?
Yeah.
In Scotland, the song is "Hey McCloud, Get Off of My You."
Classic.
And the other one would be, why do you have sex with a sheep on the edge of a cliff?
Why?
So it pushes back.
Wait, are you trying to commit suicide?
No.
Oh, because you're not. The sheep is facing the cliff. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, I haven't fucked a lot of animals, so it's tough to.
Only a couple.
Well, I think the least scary looking animals, if you don't count the humans, would have to be the duck, I think. So I'd go for the duck.
Really? Wait,
Yeah,
but would you
others are
be
just
taking or
nightmarish
receiving?
looking.
I mean, receiving or giving? Because ducks have a really weird sexual system. I don't know that you could have sex with a duck. Their vaginas are labyrinthine to try to because the male ducks are just rapists who have shotgun blast penises that shoot out at 100 miles per hour.
What?
Yeah.
Right, and they're all corkscrew shaped as well, and some are left thread and some are right thread.
Nature.
They're
Why?
weirdly shaped to try to make it through the labyrinth of the female duck's vagina.
What?
I was at a park feeding ducks, and the whole time I was just trying to protect this one duck that all the other ducks were trying to rape.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is terrifying. I don't like this.
Ducks are terrible.
Yeah, perhaps I didn't really think that one through, but that's my own punishment then.
So what's your answer? I think it's probably something with tentacles, Chris.
Unfortunately, there were no tentacled animals in this one, so I can't mail order them to my house. Probably that goat, because if Sean Connery's into it. Wait, do you remember when the goat peed on the floor?
No.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that was right at the start. We just introduced the character, and then it just pisses itself right in front of Sean Connery.
Right in front of Sean Connery, and Sean Connery goes, "Oh, it's wetter. You need to go out." That's a terrible Sean Connery impression, but you get the idea. He just says it's wet. You need to go out, and then there's like a puddle of liquid at the goat's feet. And this feels like so many scenes are on the cutting room floor of this movie. Like that would have transitioned. Like the one where when the goat presses the button in the car to call the duck at the top, the duck says a bunch of shit at the audience, and then we cut to sunset, which I have a clip of this, but don't play it. It's too long. We cut to the sunset of like a graveyard or some shit. And they're talking about how to rescue Bessie, and then he tells the kid to go in the car. I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? They were just in a car. It was just noon.
One thing that I did appreciate in the movie is that there's one child character who almost doesn't get to do anything for the entire movie. Like every time something interesting is going to happen and the kid is there, like Sean Connery's like, "Get back in the car." It's just the adventure of a 90-year-old man and a goat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's fucking that goat.
The first time we even see that kid in the movie, like he's doing some really adventurous, like luging kind of thing inside his own house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that they were trying to downplay that kid because they literally just stole that model from Jimmy Neutron.
Straight up. Oh, yeah. And what was with that fucking kid? Remember when we introduced to the kid?
You remember when he did the backflip at the end and caught the bottle of water?
Yeah. But remember when we first see him, it's the mom is in this giant mansion. She's like, what's the guy's name? What's the kid's name? Mike?
I have no idea.
Anyway, she shouts the kid's name. We cut to, has a Rube Goldberg machine where he's lit something and a marble rolls down a ramp which tugs at the table that opens it. He slides down a slide onto a skateboard, hops out. The butler is immediately upset with him and trying to catch him. He's running around. The butler pulls out a broadsword, which might be the Highlander reference, and tries to cut him down until his mom stops him.
Did he say there can be only be one?
He should have.
So, I mean, Chris, you never said which animal you were going to have sex with.
Oh, I said the goat.
Oh, right, the goat. Oh, so I guess now I have to say which animal I'd have sex with.
Which one are you going to have sex with?
Do the people count as animals?
Sure,
I'm
why
not
not?
sure they count as anything.
They're probably Sir Billy.
That skateboard scene
we
was
Americans,
strange.
we can't resist that 90-year-old Sir Billy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Amanda was watching this, and she was like, people say Sean Connery is attractive, but this movie's exactly how I see him. With like a fat head, like mumbling all the time.
The movie ostensibly is about illegal immigration.
Maybe.
Kind of.
I don't know.
So
Could be about invasive species.
I feel like there's definitely a joke that was left on the cutting room floor about barely legal beaver.
Oh, yeah. That was a barely legal beaver.
You know that someone said that at some point in the movie, and someone was like, That's too far. Can we just put in more tits?
Can we just do a paralysis joke and some Sean Connery references for the kids?
Can we just say Smelly Beaver again? Just dub that over with Smelly Beaver.
Can we talk about him eating paws and tails just for a second? Real quick, let's just go to a commercial break because this is me trying to get Dumb Geeks some sponsors. So you get to listen to it too, Andrew.
Oh boy.
So we'll be right back.
Thank you for calling the office of Congressman Devin Nunes. We apologize for missing your call as our office is currently experiencing a high volume of calls. Please leave a message with your name and phone number, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm calling Congressman Nunes because I run a podcast. We have 50 listeners, and we're currently looking for some new sponsors. The name of the podcast is called Dumb Geeks, and our phone number is 971-801-8502 if you want to call us back and maybe we can run one of your ads or something, or I don't know if I'm supposed to be calling a super PAC, or did I break some rules by saying super PAC? I don't know. This is all very complicated to me, I guess. We just talk about nerd stuff. Anyway, if you could call me back, 971-801-8502, let me know. We'll pay you $5, and then you can be our sponsor. It's a deal we're running through the new year. Anyway, you guys have a happy holidays. We don't say Merry Christmas because we are soldiers in the war on Christmas. And and a Happy New Year. And we're back. Devin Nunes, call me.
I feel like those calls work better when there's someone there to just listen to you and not care at all.
I know. I was really hoping somebody would actually answer the phone, but I don't know. I tried to find like a Devin Nunes super PAC I could call or something like that. And like, there's really, I guess you have to, I don't know who you get a hold of to donate to Devin Nunes. Oh, Dusty. Glad you're here. You need to
Okay.
You need to send me these files so I can normalize them and then send them back so we can use these.
Okay, so what's the first topic we want to talk about?
I guess the first topic we should talk about is let's just wrap up this this review here. Let's Kepple, what's your overall review of the movie?
Yeah.
Just before that, I just wanted to know what you guys thought was the best line in the movie, because I've got one that I think might be the best, but I'm not sure.
Oh wait, okay, yeah. I got two things to bring up. What do you think is the best line?
Me?
Yeah.
20 years ago, I would have taken him out right then.
I really like it when the cop talks about eating paws and tails. There's no meat on there. That's just bone and cartilage.
And you, Kepple?
And yeah, I'll send you a link to this one. I just want you to listen to it and tell me, is he saying what it sounds like he's saying, or is it just the accent?
All right, I'm opening it up on this iPad. Hopefully it plays through.
There! Just press the blue lever to lower him to your deck.
That one actually reminds me of one of my favorite Sean Connery lines of all time, which is, have you guys ever seen Highlander 2, The Quickening?
Nah.
Okay, well, there's a part in it where Sean Connery is on an airplane with some woman. And it's a lot like this movie. There's a scene where Sean Connery is on an airplane with a beautiful American woman, and he's an old Sean Connery, and she's definitely into him because he's Sean Connery, right? And he says to her, he's like, "So is it true?" And then he leans in close and whispers, but then they do the whisper really loud in the dubbing. So it's like, "So is it true that brunettes like to shit on a man's face?" And I love that line just for the line, and then also because with his accent, it sounds like he says shit on a man's face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even without the shit, though, just him asking a lady, like he's acting like he's being James Bond charming by like leaning over and be like, "So is it true that brunettes like to shit on a man's face?"
Have you heard of a glass bottom boat? It's when you sit on top of a glass table and I'm underneath it and I get to watch what happens.
I just wish there was math involved.
Do you mind if my goat joins? His name's Gordy. Did you guys catch the slightly racist Chris Rock impersonator at the end of the movie?
No.
I wondered if that was supposed to be any particular person. Yeah.
Amanda looked at me and said, Chris Rock? And I was like, seems like it.
I did note at the point where I was wondering whether the animals were supposed to represent minorities, there was something that popped up where if they do, it was racist.
Yeah.
There was just a sign on the side of the road that said lazy cows.
Oh. What is this movie about?
And at the end, when the bad guy was basically confessing and the cops arrested him, one of the things they got him for was like taking an animal from someone else's estate. Like, are these animals independent people, or are they just kind of slaves that have to live on someone else's property?
It's so many questions.
So many questions.
And you know what? Sean Connery had a lot of questions too. I think it was at the end of the movie, he was reading a book that said, it was titled Identity Crisis, What to Do When It Hits You.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that about?
So those are a bunch of...
Is that an actual book written by a Scottish author or something? Because I couldn't figure out why else they put that there.
Well, each one of those segments in that bit when he's flashed, because so Gordy is dying and he is remembering all the great times he's had not fucking his goat.
Oh. Yeah, except for the part where Gordy's doing some kind of striptease.
Yeah, so each one of those is a reference to a movie, because we do Rocky, we do the striptease. I don't know which movie that is. There's some classic movies in there too, and so that has to be a movie reference. I think that's got to be like an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that I noted down was that this movie came out in 2012.
How?
Which was 9 years since his last movie. Do you guys know what Sean Connery's final movie was before making this?
Was it Indiana
The League
Jones?
of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
You're correct, sir.
It's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? That came out after. Yeah. Oh wait, he wasn't
Everyone
in the Crystal
Skulls.
That was 2003.
Crystal Skulls was 2003?
No, he wasn't in Crystal Skulls.
Oh, he wasn't in it at all. Okay,
no.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this might actually this might be an improvement for him as the movie to go out on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to talk over Tip, you just have to shout. Say that again, Andrew.
Oh, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like everyone laughed and said how it ended his career and all that kind of thing. But now this movie's come out and people are saying the same thing about it. But
wait, people are saying things about this movie?
I don't think anybody's seen this movie.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it kind of ended his career because he didn't have a career. Like, he'd retired before they dragged him back into this.
Yeah, well, from what I looked into, it seems like this was kind of a national Scottish project. Yeah. And so I feel like someone went and guilt tripped Sean Connery into doing this, being like, "This will be so good for the country.
Only if I can do it from my bed."
Yeah.
And
I'm dying.
I want the microphone 3 inches from my face so I can whisper.
What was that accent?
I don't know what's happening, Tip. I seem to be transforming.
Okay, so do we want to wrap this up? Wrap up this review?
I prefer not to use condoms.
Uh-huh.
Tip knows.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. Personally, I thought that this movie was an irredeemable piece of shit. Yeah. And I apologize for making you guys watch it.
You really should. This was unwatchable. I had to keep notes just to understand what the fuck was happening. If I hadn't kept notes, I would have nothing to say today.
Last time that I watched it with my friend Michael, who geekheads will know as the guy whose dad was in German pornography that I found.
Yep.
I watched it with him and a few friends, and there were maybe substances involved, and we had a really good time.
I was going to say, ketamine would help.
Yeah.
And Andrew, how do you feel? Is this movie redeemable? I think that should be our question at the end of movies. Is this redeemable?
It is redeemable, but not for making it better. If this movie was worse, like if they just put in less effort, it would have been so much funnier, so much more enjoyable. But the fact that it's as bad as it is, but not worse, means, I don't know, it's just not quite. It could have been as bad as Animal Soccer World if only they tried a bit less hard.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I don't know that one either.
That one is like, it's so bad it wasn't even made by animators, but it rips off all these Disney cartoons and everything was fun.
Animal Soccer World?
Yeah, but this one,
I have seen real life bears play hockey. Do you know in Russia they do that? They take bears and they strap skates onto them and they duct tape their hands to hockey sticks and they make them play hockey.
Russian hockey players look like.
No, it's really
You're just being racist.
No, it's amazing though. You should never ever go to a Russian bear hockey game because it's very cruel.
Oh yeah.
But you should watch the videos of it because it's so bizarre. It looks like it comes from an alternate dimension. It's like if you were in Sliders or something, like, oh, we're in the bear hockey dimension. And the bears do like they. What's funny is
Does
that
anybody
you can
remember
tell,
the movie Sliders out there for our audience?
Television
if you do,
show, you mean?
Call our phone number.
But what's interesting about it is that you can tell that they couldn't figure out how to train the bears on anything except for trying to get the puck into the goal.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty good.
Well, but so all the bears are fighting about trying to get it into the goal, but none of them are trying to actually protect the goal. So there's like a goalie bear who doesn't give a fuck, and then there's just two bears with duct tape sticks to their hands, just like trying to murder each other over this fucking puck randomly. And then occasionally a bear will just get the puck to itself and just like be like very carefully trying to hit the thing. Like, come on.
Sounds terrible, but better than this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Did you say he said redeemable?
Oh no, I agree with you. Irredeemable. This is awful. It kind of feels like what it feels like to me is that they had gotten all this money, all this incentive money, and they're putting it together, and they're starting to go over budget. And they had a couple scenes to add. They haven't fully textured it. They haven't done any volumetric shading at all. And someone came in and was like, "Well, you guys need more money. Let's see the rough cut." And then they went, "Nope, out the door. Done. We're shutting it down. Shutting it down. Everyone's fired. Get the fuck out. We're going to make as much money as we can."
I found, when I looked it up afterwards to see if this movie was real, it said that only 15 of the animators were credited, and there was over 100 animators involved.
Holy shit.
So many of them just kept quitting or getting fired, and some of them even asked to not have their name put in the credits.
Well, if you were that lady, the little, like, the Northeast American gal with the black hair, like, they made her a fucking caricature. She looks awful. Like,
I will say that I did prefer this movie to Food Fight.
I haven't seen Food Fight.
Don't. At least this
I've
movie.
Seen a few minutes of Food Fight, and I have to say the animation in that is worse than Sir Billy.
Yeah, and also it's way more blatantly racist and just terrible in a lot of other ways.
Okay. Yeah, the movie I saw before this was...
I don't need like an anthropomorphic lesbian taco, okay?
Oh, I kind of like that, yeah.
A Mexican...
Oh, no, I did see Food. Is this the Seth Rogen?
Yeah.
Where they have to save the hot dog?
That's Sausage Party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, that's what I was thinking of. What was Food Fight? That was the one that was a knockoff of Sausage Party that was even worse, wasn't it?
Oh, nice.
Food Fight was one that I think it was before Sausage Party, but it took so long to come out, it was basically at the same time.
Oh,
and
right.
It had Charlie Sheen as one of the main characters.
Whoa.
I don't think I ever actually did watch that one, but it looked amazingly bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last movie I saw was Ad Astra, which is more redeemable than this, but literally had me screaming at the TV for an hour until I resigned myself to my fate and watched the rest of it. I really want to do that for Dumb Geeks just so I can scream at the mic about gravity.
Mm-hmm.
They built an antenna on the Earth. Why? You have space travel. Build it in space, guys. It's fucking dumb. Whole movie's fucking dumb.
All right, so I'm giving... what is this movie called again? Guardian of the Highlands?
Yeah.
Guardian of the Highlands, 5 stars out of 100.
That's generous. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go with you on that one. I'm with you all the way on this one. Tip 5 out of 100.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Actually,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's a bad movie. It's not 0. I wish it was, but it wasn't. I have to give it 5.
Yeah.
Out of 100.
Well, I gotta say, Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me
for this terrible movie.
Yeah, thanks for making me subject myself to this horrible. Well, if you ever feel like watching and reviewing Animal Soccer World, I'll be happy to put in my 2 cents about that.
All right,
Animal Soccer World. I'm gonna have to look that
up. Put it on the list. I think the next movie we got to do something that's a little more that people have seen.
Some people say that they want to hear reviews of terrible movies that they've seen. But I feel like we're saving them the trouble of seeing a terrible... They don't have to go see this, which, by the way, Guardian of the Highland, you can go see for free right now on Amazon Prime streaming or with commercials and no subtitles on Tubi TV.
Yeah, because you sent me a YouTube link where all the audio is fucked, and I was like, I was just so curious if like they had recorded Sean Connery on a phone, and I was like, this movie's really bad.
We have to degrade all the rest of the audio so it matches.
Yeah, and then I went and found it on Amazon. I was like, oh, thank God.
Well, I have to confess that don't let Scotland find out, but I actually tried to pirate this, but there were just not enough seeders for it. Like nobody has this.
I tried to pirate it too so that I'd be able to rip audio from it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So yeah, that's why I had to record all my clips of it from my couch. I did turn up the volume on my soundbar first.
I appreciate that, I guess. All right, well, I'm going to play us out. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. We're the Dumb Geeks on Instagram. If you want to hit us up there, we got an email. There's a phone number I'm going to insert later for people to call us and leave stupid messages.
Happy New Year to the Geekheads.
Yeah, Happy New Year's to all 30 of you.
Oh God, I'm so dumb that I can't even think of this fucking true.
Oh yeah, role playing. That's fun.
Yeah, I bet you get that a lot, right?
Kill it!
We're all being pegged at home.
If you're dumb enough to believe it, you'll go for anything?
What do you mean?